Hello, Belogan here. In today's video, we are going to do our gear deep dive. So let's talk about everything gear related. To the best of my knowledge, this video will give you the most current and up-to-date information on gear available in Titan Conquest. Now today is the 20th of March 2021. There are frequently changes to the way things work. New gear can be added. Small wrinkles added here and there that can change information, or new pieces given through stories or through Borgen. But this is the current information up to date today. If we have some major changes in the future, we'll record a new video at that point and talk about those updates. So let's start with the basics and talk about the different tiers of gear. To do this, I'm going to come into the code breaker. And you have this option here to bulk decode. This will decode typically up to 1,000 or all, I don't know, it depends. Sometimes it only does 1,000, sometimes it does all of a color, takes a while of your gear. But these buttons, the important thing is that they're arranged in rarity or power level of the gear is probably a better word than rarity. Now yellow won't show up initially until you hit level 99, you're only gonna see red. So white are your most common pieces of gear. These are going to have one perk on them, and a perk can be any, let me come into my gear here and show you, any of these 8 parameters here. So your hit points, your experience, location points, attack, defense, drachma, crit, and evade. So it will randomly have one of these perks available on it. Come back to my tab here. Greens are the next level up, and these are gonna have 2 perks on them. Then you've got blues. Blues are gonna have 4 of the perks, so they'll get half those selections. Purples will have 6. And then 8 and reds will all have yellows. Now to show what I mean, what we can do is come and decode one of these, and I'll tell you what we get for a perk. So I'm going to decode a white primary, and I'm looking at this first perk here. It's telling me experience. So I know that this is what the perk is on this white primary weapon. It's the first one that's going to be listed. Now after that, it's going to tell you the change in perks from what you currently have equipped. So this white certainly is not anywhere near as strong as the Thunderbolt of Zeus this hero is currently equipped with. So greens are going to be the same, and blues again 4. You can come through, and we'll do some of these later in the video when we're talking about what to sell in our hero shops. All right. Another thing that happens with gear, and another reason why you want to decode and dismantle everything, is because of materials they're going to drop from your gear. So we've talked about it in the past. When you decode a piece of gear, there are 2 parameters that's going to determine how strong it is. That's both its base stat and its perk percentages. That is going to be your current power level, up to 20k power. There's a cap there, and then your decode rank also impacts that, and the cap on that is level 99. So obviously you want to decode to get your decode rank up, everything that you can, but we also get materials from decoding gear, or dismantling gear after you have decoded it. So to show you what they give, I'm going to come into a piece here that is not currently infused. You have copper, iron, bronze, silver, and gold as the material types that are going to drop from, you get those in material chests, and you can also get them from gear. So when you dismantle a white piece of gear, it's going to give you a copper. A green is going to give you a copper and an iron. A blue is going to give you a bronze and an iron and a copper. A purple will give you a silver, bronze, iron, and copper. And a red piece of gear will give you one of each of gold, silver, bronze, iron, and copper. And then yellows give you 2 of these. So it's twice as much as the reds for yellows. Now most of your materials are going to have a plethora of and never run out: copper, iron, bronze, silver. Typically you never have an issue with these, but gold is always a problem. Gold becomes a rarity. I look like I'm sitting on a lot right now with 62,000, but I'm going to be burning these very, very quickly. I don't even have enough to completely infuse the Oracle set that I'm currently leveling, so I will have to go and farm some gold later on. That'll be another topic for farming gold, the best ways to do it, but generally, if you're going to be infusing any kind of gear before you hit level 99, don't do anything that takes gold. That's why I always tell people, infuse experience if you're going to put something on your gear that is before you hit level 99. Those gear pieces are going to be replaced fairly rapidly, and when you dismantle gear that has infusions on it, you only get 25% back of the materials that you put into it. So it's a pretty steep exchange rate. You don't get a lot back for what you spend, so hold on to that gold. All right, so those are our materials. Next, we're going to talk about the different gear sets and the impacts that they have. And to do that, I'm actually going to come into the wiki, and I'm looking for gear sets right here. So there are a list of different type of sets that you can have. All of your gear can have Riot, Fighter, Thief, Scholar, Clan, or those ones, just those ones. Clan is its own that you will get only from the Clan shop. Now your yellow gear can also have Slayer or Oracle as a set, and then special event gear could be of the set event. Now what the set does is it gives you a bonus to the statistics of that piece. They don't show up in the perks percentage, but they do show up on your gear tab when you have those equipped. And the set determines what those bonuses are going to be. So Riot, for example, gives 3% defense and 1% hit point. So early on, when you're trying to increase your power, using a Riot set is the best way to boost up just your power. Now, you're not going to hit as hard as, say, with a Fighter that's got 3% more attack, or you might not get as much Drachma as with a Thief set. It gets 3% Drachma, as an example, but it will increase your power the most. Now the gear, when you decode them, has a % chance to be any one of these sets, and that goes up with the rarity. So whites and greens are 16%, 20% blue, up to 100%, so yellows will always be of a set of one type or another. Now when you start equipping multiple pieces that have the same set, they get a multiplier on them based on how many pieces you have of that set. And then there's also a bonus if you have the full color scheme of the same set as well. So what I mean by that is if you have all yellow Oracle pieces, for example, you get a multiplier for all 8 Oracle pieces, and then because they're all yellow, it doubles again. So just to show what that looks like, if I come into my gear, these are going to show at the top of this page. So I've got 8 matching pieces, matching set, matching color, and so the perks on that come out to 896% defense plus 896 drachma. So those are the ones that were originally only 4% per piece. And for the 2% HP and evade, come up to 448 for a full set in that regard. Now, you might ask, well, when do I need to start worrying about what set my gear is? Early on, it really doesn't matter all that much. So there's a chart down here at the bottom of this wiki that shows a total % bonus for having a complete set. Of whites is 90%, 96%, greens is 192, and it might sound like a lot, and it's a fair amount, but because of the rarity and how quickly you end up swapping out this gear, I don't really worry about having specific set pieces until you get to red gear at level 99. Prior to that, I don't really look at what set it is. I'll use anything from any set. You're gonna burn through those levels really quick and that gear pretty long. Won't last you very long before you're swapping it out. And frankly, the amount of time of trying to find a gear, like for example, trying to find all whites of a specific set just isn't worth the time generally in my opinion. Now once you hit level 99, then you're gonna start worrying about your sets. If you're trying to farm Drachma, for example, to get to Underworld or Mount Olympus, a Thief set can be really helpful to increase your Drachma gains. If you're going to farm your Drachma from fighting Titans though, where you're hitting hard, then you probably want to go with a Fighter set to increase the gains that way. Then once you get to Mount Olympus, or once you start assembling your gear, you're going to want to get to God tier. You have your choice between Slayer and Oracle. And most people in the meta right now has been to go for Slayer over Oracle. So Oracle has significantly higher power because it's a huge amount of defense. But it ends up being slower in the end to gain experience, both because Slayer has a larger experience perk bonus, but also because the way that you're primarily getting your experience to get to God tier is from fighting Titans, whether that's Zeus on Mount Olympus or when you get to the Astral Plane after you onyx your first piece, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Everything that you fight on the Astral Plane is a Titan, and so hitting harder ends up meaning you're getting a lot more experience a lot faster than you would from Oracle. Additionally, when it comes to farming materials, gold from Mount Olympus from drops and yellow memories that drop or from farming cores on Astral Plane, your time to kill is really, really important. The faster you can kill the creatures, the more drops you're going to get, and Slayer shines in that over Oracle. Oracle, again, has higher power, so when you're shooting for the top of the leaderboard, that's the set that you build, and that's typically why you would do it. So if we come look at the leaderboard, for example, in the Acropolis, you've got your top 3 heroes here. Fragile, for example, here is running an Oracle set. Cloud is running a Slayer and just has so many more cores than everybody else because he's been there for a long time. Shred's also running that. When I look at Season 2 most powerful heroes, I'm up at the top here, and I and myself both, Fragile here, are both running Oracle sets. And you know, the main reason we're doing this, we aren't playing these heroes, but it's just to get some kind of a billboard up. So sometimes I'll stick something up here asking you to shop in my shop, or here I'm asking you to go over to the Quest Writer app and try out the Acropolis Zoo. It's basically a paid for billboard for us at this point. All right, so those are gear sets. There are, throughout the game, some specific pieces of gear that are really good that you can get from stories, and we'll just hop to where those are at very, very quickly. The first one you can get happens at level 30, and we get that from Venus at the Ember Caves, and the story here is Shipwrecked. This is a pretty complex story. You're going to want the guide to go through it. If you know what you're doing, I can run through this in about 2 or 3 minutes, but if you're trying to figure it out from scratch without help, it can take you a couple hours. The next piece of gear that is very helpful to get, you get from Earth. Come back here, go somewhere else. And this is in the first area of Earth here at the, how do you say this? Theon. Everyone knows I slaughter names, right? I'm not gonna slaughter that one worse because it might go bad. All right, so explore this area, you have Poseidon's Mark. This will give you the Trident of Poseidon at level 50, and this is an incredibly strong red fighter special weapon that you will probably use all your way up to level 99. Now once you hit level 99, there are a few newer pieces you can get. When you get to the Underworld, so this is after you've gotten level 99 on the Black War and you farm up 10 billion drachma, you can get to the Underworld. And the first area here at Lord's Watch, hey, someone wants some Avenges. I come to explore this area. You have this called Death's Door, and this gives the Helm of Darkness, which is an incredibly strong Oracle helmet. It has a very, very high base defense. Now the downside of this piece of gear is that it gives you permanent blindness, which means you're going to miss 50% of your attacks. What that means is, unless if you're trying to do like 100k battles in a day and you don't care if you hit or not, okay, leave it on. But generally, you do not want to farm with this helmet on. So why is it useful? Well, 2 reasons. One of them is because it gives you a pretty good power boost with about any gear set you're going to have early on, and so it can help you quickly reach that 20k power cap for decoding your own gear, so that you can decode like a thief set when you've got your 20k power cap, for example, when you want to start working towards, or a fighter set, for example, when you want to start working towards Mount Olympus. Now, if you're just going to buy gear from the hero shops, it's not that big of a deal at that point. The other reason the Helm of Darkness is useful is because there has been a new bauble added, and I'll come show this here. This is the Terry bauble. This was added just on the 16th of this month. And to get this, you have to get a killing blow on a godly titan. So that's a titan, a rare event titan that only shows up when Firestream spawns them, and he is on Mount Olympus, so you have to be there to battle him. But if you have a minimum DR of 50, so that's a decode rating of 50, and you can get a killing blow while you're blind on the godly titan, you get the Terry bauble. So that gives you plus 20% perks to all of your heroes, but it also gives you a plus 5 to your decode rank, which means those of us that are level 99 in our decode rank, our gear now is decoding as if we were level 104, and that has an impact on the stats that we can get from gear. We're going to cover that in just a minute here. There's one more story that you can do. Once you get to Mount Olympus and you have collected 100 shards of Zeus, you can come to the Realm of Glass, and there is a new story here, the Omega Syndicate and the Chronos of Labyrinth. And if you're looking at this line, it says written by Belligan, and says, oh crap, this is going to be hard. Well, yeah, I'm sorry, it is. This is a pretty difficult story to get through. When it first launched, we had a team of about 5 or 6 people. It took them pretty much all 2 days to get through the story. There's not currently guides posted on this, that there will be. But this is currently giving 2 pieces of gear, a Peleus Mark, which is a little bit weaker version of the Peleus Strike that you would get from Borgin, and then the Shiny Bow, which is a Slayer version of the Golden Bow. It's a little bit weaker, and if you look at the way that we have it infused, both of these have their base stats infused 200 times. So they've been gotten to level 99 turned Onyx, and then had an additional 100 infusions on those. I didn't talk about infusions a whole lot. I probably won't in this video, other than to say your limit for the amount of infusions you can get is based off the gear tier. There's going to be a wiki entry on that under infusions and material guides. As far as the amount of materials that you need, it gets to be crazy amounts. But for normally, your yellow gear can have 100 infusions on them. Once you onyx it, that doubles up to 200. And generally it takes about 3 times the materials required. So for base stat of a piece of gear, to put in 100 infusions is usually about, I'm rounding around 5,000 gold. To get it to 200 is going to be about 20,000 gold total. So that's when I said I got 60,000 gold in there. That's not nearly enough. Anyway, those 2 pieces of gear do have their base stats boost up 200, so they're going to hit pretty hard. Their base stats are 100 lower than the Borgin variants, and the shiny bow does not do 4 times damage on shields like the golden bow does. It's only the regular 2 times for special weapon. So these pieces of gear are still pretty strong. Getting them from the story means that you don't have to spend ancient coins on them, and farming up ancient coins does take quite a bit of time, especially when you're looking at a $10,000 price tag or 10,000 AC price tag for those pieces from Borgin. So they're pretty good holdovers at that point. There's also some fun emblems you get from that story. All right, next let's talk about gear leveling. There is a great wiki entry on this. So when you hit level 99, your gear starts to level up, and it can go all the way up to level 99. For every level that a piece of gear has, its base stat is increased by 1. Now yellow gear, once it hits level 99, turns onyx, and then its base stat is doubled. So the way that you get gear experience, there's 2 ways. One of them is through regular battling, and there's a formula in here that tells us how much experience you're going to get. So in a specific battle, the amount of gear experience you get is your hero experience you receive divided by 8888, plus the damage that you have dealt divided by 8888. And these are rounded up. When it says round, really it's rounding up always. It doesn't round down. So if it comes out to like 24.0005, you're going to get 25, not 24. Plus the damage you receive, again rounded. This will be a minimum of 1. So if you one-shot an enemy, don't take any damage, you'll still get an experience. And then you also get poison damage divided by 4. If you don't take any poison damage, this stays at 0. And then the other way to get more gear experience is through transposing. We're going to cover that in just a minute. So let's talk quickly, just a couple examples of how that works out. So I'm going to come to Mount Olympus, and we're going to try to one-shot a tier 1 mob here. Let's see if we can get it in our first try. All right, here we go. So I've one-shot this Karas champion. So the experience I get from this is 1,599,974, and the damage I dealt is 1,187,729. So if I divide each of these numbers by 8888, I'm going to get a value. And the ones I worked out earlier came out to be just a little bit lower than this. I think I got more experience this than the last one I one hit. But from the damage on this, I'm going to get roughly 134 experience. And from the XP on here, I'll do an overlay with the actual numbers. It's going to end up being about 179, 180, something like that. So I add those 2 together, add +1 for the damage, and that's going to give my gear experience of 315. Now this gets divided into the pieces of gear I have that are not currently onyxed. So if I look at my gear, what I'm wearing, I've got all of my weapons are onyx, and I've got 2 pieces of armor that are onyx, but these other 3 are not yet. They're not yet level 99. So that 315 experience goes into those. Gear experience works like hero experience in that to get a piece of gear to level 99, you need 2 billion experience. So 315, in a single battle, that would take a very, very long time to do. Just going that way, which is typically why when we're trying to optimize how much gear experience you get, there are some strategies where they will want to use poison damage and try to take as much poison damage as possible, or hero damage, because that can add. But typically, until you get your first Onyx piece, people are going to go fight Zeus, where you're going to get drastically more experience than off, one-shotting a mob on ammo. Now, once you get to the astral plane, things pick up quite a bit. We're going to come to the astral plane here and soul separate. Here's my lucky day. This may take a try or two. Let's see if we can one-shot one of these mobs. Ooh, first hit, lucky, nice. All right, so for this monster, I got 206,057,431 experience, and I did 1,991,084,685 damage. Divide those numbers each by 8888, and you're gonna come to a value that is, when I add those together, it's gonna be about 23 something K gear experience. Now you notice this 25,749 is higher than that value. How much higher? Well, 10%. So you get a 10% bonus on your gear experience for battling in the first area of the astral plane. So that helps. It also helps that everything we fight here is going to be a Titan, and so hitting them hard is going to help you get that gear experience a lot faster. Also, any way you can get hero experience, so like if I come and did had these guys enraged, and then got a special on it, or my super that crit and got an avenged kill that doubles all that, you can get massive amounts here. We'll try really quick just to get one. I'm not gonna waste a lot of time on this. All right, this didn't crit, but I still got a pretty nice amount, 5 billion experience, 742,000 gear experience. If that had crit, I would probably got like 2 million gear experience off of that one piece. So drastically faster to do it that way. I'm gonna come up here to Soul Destroy, and if I come, ooh, got lucky one shot again. Here I fought one of these guys, one shot, and again I got 222 million experience, 528,734. Damage is roughly the same. If I work these numbers out from the experience here, off of the hero experience, the amount I get there is about 25,000. My damage experience is about 22,000. That should come out to, when I do these numbers together, actually no, it's like 224. Anyway, when I do these numbers together, you'll see on the overlay, it should be about 25K gear experience plus a little bit. But this number here of 42,945 is actually 70% higher. So for every zone I go up in the astral plane, it's an additional 10% on your gear experience that you gain. Now, does that continue up here into Soul Awaken? Probably. I didn't stop and kill Kratos to find out. This guy takes a while. He's pretty tough. All right, last topic to cover in our video this morning is going to be hero shops. So once you hit level 99, you can come and open up your own hero shop. And the question often is, how come I'm not selling anything, or what should I list? So generally speaking, the DR99 players, and those especially with the Terry Bauble, are probably going to get the most sells, because people that buy gear will want to get the best value per their buck, and the quality or the price of the gear is the same regardless of whether you're buying from a brand new DR50 player or a DR99 with the Terry Bauble. So I did write up a guide in the wiki about a year ago. This is going to be a little bit out of date. Now, this was the case at the time. There wasn't a limit to the number of items you can throw in your hero shop. Now it's limited to 48, but people were just opening their shop. They would decode everything possible and throw everything up for sale. So I ended up writing up this post to try to help people a little bit. So you spent your 250 AC and have a nice new shop. Off to the code breaker you go to decode all your lovely memories and flood your shop with everything possible. Every piece must have a loving home somewhere, right? Okay, let me break you the sad news. Nobody wants to buy your white gear with an evasion perk. I spent the last day looking through all the shops trying to find whites, greens, and blues that would be worth buying, only to find that most vendors are just throwing all their trash out there without regard to what should be available. So let me give you some guidance on low-end gear. And this is mostly true, although there's a lot of updates since the time that I wrote this. All right, whites. For your weapons, you want to have either the attack or the experience perk on these. And really the main reason we're selling whites and blues are the two lower tiered gears I'd sell are for people that are doing specialty runs when they want to do a sub 1 hour run. And if you watch my video, we did that with all blues. Or you got people that are just trying to do like a deathless run, so they want good gear. Or since it's not their first run, they just want a head start on gear and go for hero shop gear. Blues are 50 AC a piece, comparatively cheap. Once you go to purple, they're 100 minimum, 200 for red, so it can be a little bit expensive for not that much more benefit. Greens, if you're gonna list these, I'd recommend attack and defense. I don't really sell greens, honestly, for specialty runs. This changes depending on the scenario. Sometimes people are gonna want just defense and experience if they're just doing it for Kratos runs. I don't list greens unless someone specifically asks me for something. I stick to whites, blues, and yellows. For blues, there's a magic perk combo: attack, defense, experience, and crit. Those are the 4 that we care about for blues. Why? Well, the amount of defense that you get from a blue set is enough to carry to level 99 even on hard mode, no problem. So there's not a huge reason to go higher than blues. And so you're not going to get hit more than them for 1 damage more often than not. And so having a hit point perk is kind of a bust. But for quickly leveling, the ones that matter are attack and experience and your crit rate, because those are going to impact directly how much experience you get from killing titans. Hitting them harder and your experience buff both directly impact it, and having crit makes it so that you crit more often, hitting harder, thus it also impacts it. And then your defense just gives you a little bit more survivability. Arguably, this could be something different depending on the run. So like your sub 1 hour 99s, you're gonna do most of that with a ghost cloak when you would get hit anyway, so defense perk doesn't really matter there, but the attack and experience and crit all do. So getting that combination of blues can be pretty difficult. And I'll show you a trick on how I search through my gear when I'm looking for stuff to sell here in just a moment. Now for yellows, yellow is going to be endgame gear. I typically don't worry about weapons. Every once in a while I'll throw one up if it gets, max stats, because sometimes people want as a stopgap. It's a little bit cheaper than the Borgen gear and they can't decode their own yet, but I don't focus on weapons too much. And for armor, everyone's gonna wanna get line of sight, typically. So I mostly, honestly, worry about gauntlets, chest, legs, and class items. Sometimes I'll throw up an Oracle. I'm building an Oracle set right now. Sometimes people want to do that, but usually I focus on Slayer. And I want to make sure that I have 2 things on those. I want to have the max base armor. For DR99, that was 229. With the Terry Bauble, that's bumped up to 234, so an additional 5 points of base armor. And then I make sure that the attack perk is as high as it can be. So DR99, the attack's perk maximum is 143%, where with the Terry Bauble, that's gone up to 148%. So when I am looking to sell a piece of Slayer gear, I'm not going to list it unless it has 234 base defense and 148% attack perk. The other perks, I don't care about, and I'll tell you why. 2 reasons. Once you get to God tier, caps are unlocked. So the difference in percentage between 140 and 148, 8%, so that's 8 cores. When you're comparing that to how many cores you have, I've got like 10,000 almost of each core. Cloud's got like 50,000 of each core. That small percentage doesn't make much of a difference. Now when you leave the astral plane, there is a soft core cap of 5K, and so they do have a little bit more of an impact. So for scenarios where we're fighting public events or we're going to Mount Olympus to try to farm up more yellows or golds, that time to kill is important. And so having that attack percentage maxed out makes a little bit of difference in how quickly you can kill things. Is it super drastic? No, it's really not. When you're one-shotting most of your monsters there, or even just a couple blasts, you're not going to get to where it's 1 attack less more often than not by having an extra 10 to 15% between all your pieces of gear less attack. But it does help a little bit. So that's why I focus on those 2 perks as the main ones. Now your base stat is never going to change. Its limit is what it is, and then everything is multiplied upon that, so I like to have that maxed out as high as possible. So that's what I would sell in my shop. I'm going to show you a quick trick here for how I like to search for gear when I'm going to sell it. So when I'm doing whites, I will do these 1 at a time, and I try to keep 1 of each that I'm going to sell. So like 1 attack and 1 experience for the weapons, and then 1 with attack, 1 with defense, and 1 experience perks for each of the armor pieces. And I'll just come queue up like 10 of these, and I'll decode all of these at once. And then I'll just look at this first perk here. Is it the one I'm going for? Say I was looking for an attack. This is crit, no. XP, no. HP, no. Drachma, HP. Defense, no. Attack. And then I would say, okay, to keep it, and then just dismantle the rest. When I've done that, I can then go directly into managing my shop, look for that white, and just click those to put them on sale, set price to minimum, and you're good. So whites are the easiest to do. For blues, and I've got a fair number of blues here, we'll go ahead and dismantle or decode these. Sure, why not set myself up for failure on missions today? Gonna give it just a minute here. I don't have so many that should take forever to do. Typically when I do my blues, I've got between 500 and like 1,000 of each one, which is more than you can realistically sort through. When you're on your gear page looking at individual pieces, it's going to show you 100 pieces per slot at most. So if you've got more than 100 of each, you're not gonna see them. They scroll off the bottom of the list. However, it does sort those in order of power of the base stat. So if you have a lot more, you're more likely to fill up those first 100 slots with pieces of gear that are at their max base stat. All right, then what I'm gonna do is come in here to my gear for my blues, and let's do armor. I'm not gonna worry about weapons at the moment. And a lot of blues decode to purple, so I'm gonna mass dismantle those. And then we're gonna look for this magic combo here. You notice I've got these attack, defense, XP, crit. What I'm gonna do, I'm gonna search for crit, and what I'm gonna do this is rather than Control F, I'm gonna do Control G, and I'm gonna type in here %CR. And what this does is it highlights for me all of the crits that are in the record. And then I'm just gonna scroll through and look for them. And I'm only worried if this last one here is yellow. So all of these here where it's not highlighted, I can scan right out of those. When I got one here at the end that's yellow, then I can quickly dart my eyes over and look. Does it start attack? Nope. Okay, I don't want that one. Crit here, HP, nope, not what I'm looking for. HP, nope, HP, nope. And I can just scan through here and quickly try to find the ones that have the perk that I want. Attack def, ooh, so close, drachma instead of experience there. Very, very common. So it's pretty difficult. You'll typically only find a couple of these for every 1,000 that you decode that have the right combination. Luckily, blues are the most common that drop. So for a couple of days of farming, things you'll likely find some. So I didn't find any here in the helmets, for example, that were new. These ones are already in sale, I don't have to worry about. And I'm frankly not gonna keep anything I find right now. Anyway, this is just for the video. If I did find a piece I wanted to keep, so say for example, okay, I like this one, even though it's HP, attack, drachma, what you do is then lock it. When I do that, my highlights lose, so I come back up here to my search bar, just put in space, subtract it, re-highlight everything, and then I can go back to scrolling through. When you're done, oh, here's one right here, for example. All right, when you're done and you've gone through all your gear pieces and found how many you have, and I try to keep 2 of these blues in, then you can bulk dismantle your blues. Anything that is locked or currently in your shop is not going to be dismantled. So then I can come down here and unlock these pieces now that they are left and you've gotten rid of everything else. And then if I was actually gonna sell these, I like to infuse these with experience just because it helps with that sub 1 hour 99 run. And then you would go in and list those for sale. So that's how I go through my blues as quickly as possible. The longest portion to it is just decoding all of them, especially when you've got, you know, like 8,000 of them. It can take a couple minutes to do. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and just dismantle those. Yellows, it's a pretty similar thing. I can come through here, and because I'm a subscriber, I can get rid of all the Fighter, Riot, Thief, and Scholar sets and leave only the Slayer and Oracle sets, and then I come through and I just check. And you can do the same search thing here if you want. Just do 143% ATK. If I can get it in here. Sorry, 48 is the max currently. And that'll come highlight all of these in the attack in their second spot. So then you can come and look through if you've got a ton of these, you know, which one has the 148 that I am looking for. All right, so this one, for example, this piece of Oracle does. Come down here, all right, here's some Slayer boots, 148% attack and 234, so that's your max base stat. So that's one that I have in my shop, for example. These other Oracle pieces are ones that are locked, ones I'm actually using right now for my Oracle set. I wasn't too worried about the perks, I was just looking at the base stat for those. So that Control G is a nice tip to help you find what you want for your shop, and then you can come and list them up to 48 items. I always sell everything for minimum price, just the way I do it. And that's how you, some tips on quickly finding what you want to set in your shop. Now you look at my sales numbers here, I've got almost 2,000 sales, a ridiculous amount of AC. Most of this was earned when hero shops were first opened and the market was crazy. I still get a fair number of sales right now. It's picked up a little bit with the Terry bottle added in just because there is, see, I've got a ton of blues in here. I can't even see the stuff for sale that I have. You know, I still sell, you know, these are some blues for the specialty run, the Terry baubles here, those still sell, and that's picked up a little bit since that was introduced earlier in the week. But typically, you know, I might sell a couple whites, a couple blues. It's not a whole lot. I don't do it for the drachma anymore or for the AC anymore. I've got more than I need. I typically give it away, but some players do. So I mostly just try to get gear that are going to help people towards their end game or help a specialty run. So it's just to help them along in that regard. All right, with that, that is Belogan's Gear Deep Dive. There's a lot of things we could cover in addition to, you know, what we think is best and other strategies, but I think as far as understanding how gear works, how to pick what to sell, what sets to worry about, that's going to cover the basics and give you a pretty solid foundation of everything you need to know about gear in Titan Conquest. Thanks for watching.